Hi everybody, this is Maureen Wong for YNStamp.com. Today we're going to be making this adorable bunny card that says Have a Hoppy Day with a whole bunch of YNS Stamp products. So let's get started. Okay, I've got my MISTI out because I'm going to be stamping an image from this Sprinkles Happy Easter set from YNS Stamp. And I'm sorry, it's such a dark shot. But I've got the piece of black foam that came with the MISTI originally on this side, and on this side I used to have a piece of foam that was actually an orange and a yellow 2mm each glued together, and I found out that that was just a little bit too tall for my MISTI and was unbalancing the MISTI. So I found this 3mm foam, which is actually the same exact thickness as this pad. And I bought some of that at the craft store, and I cut it down to size, and it is the perfect, absolute perfect height for the MISTI. It now opens and completely balances. There's no strain on the hinges or anything like that. So that's why it's such a dark shot. I probably could cut this out of white. I also bought white, but I was afraid that it would get really dirty and grungy, so I'm using the black. So I'm sorry it's such a dark shot. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to be using an image from this Sprinkles Happy Easter set, and I'm going to be using the bunny that has the paint can and the paintbrush. And so let me take that out. And right here I've got just a scrap of regular old Georgia Pacific cardstock. It's my favorite thing for stamping with. Oh, that had a little stain on the side, so let's put it this way. It's what I love for stamping on for Copics and for colored pencils because it's really, really cheap. I buy it at Walmart, and I think it colors great. Other people don't think so. But for me personally, I just love it, so I'm going to keep using it. I do have other more expensive papers for different coloring mediums, but I don't really bother with them too much unless I'm doing my coloring classes or something and I want to use the recommended materials for the class. But other than that, the Georgia Pacific suits me just fine. And I'm stamping in Memento because it dries fast, not because I like the image that it gives, but just because it dries fast and gives me a point to start coloring. So I'm going to take out my image from the MISTI now that I've stamped it. I'm going to clean off my stamp and put my MISTI to the side while I color my image. And today again I'm using Spectrum Noirs, and that's just because you may start thinking, wow, that must be her favorite because she uses it all the time, but no, it's actually because I just have it out on my desk and I'm too lazy to put some of my other pencils out for me to use. So here are my Spectrum Noirs, and I'm gonna start coloring, but I'm going to speed up the video, so I'll do a voiceover with all the color numbers in case you're interested. So here we go. Okay, this is going to be a really quick coloring segment. I'm using black 120 there, then I'm coming in with brown 100 for the brush bristles, and then for my paint color I'm using orange number 20 for all of the paint spatters and also the paint can label. Then I'm coming in with a series of grays. This one is 116, and I'm doing just a little bit of the darker portion. Then the mid-tone is 114, and the lightest is 112. Next, I'm coming in with pink number 34 for the ears, and I decided to do the belly with that color too. And I apologize, I'm totally going out of frame right now with the 116 doing the shadowing. Basically this is cast shadows everywhere where something is behind something else, like the body is behind the head or the arms are behind the body. The sides of the heads are rounded. I did the tongue with the same pink and shadowed behind the tail, and that's about it. I just wanted to do some really super simple coloring. I know not everybody out there loves to color. I used to hate to color, and then I discovered that I actually do like to color with certain materials, and but I understand how it is for people who don't like to color, because I used to be one of those for a really long time when I first started stamping. But I wanted to show you that you can buy these line images even if you don't like to color, because you can do a really simple coloring job. You don't have to do all that fancy shading and everything. That took me just a few minutes, and it still comes out really cute. So even if you don't like to color, buy line images if you think they're cute, because there's always something you can do with them. If not doing a simple coloring job, you can actually even stamp the whole thing in a colored ink. And that's what I used to do a lot when I was in my early stamping days and didn't like to color, is I would just make cards where the line images were stamped in a colored ink. So that's another idea for using your line images. Okay, and now I'm gonna get the matching die for this one, and that is this guy right here. And we're gonna position that die and stick it down, and I'm gonna take it to my die cutting machine. And okay, for my next step, I'm gonna stamp on a banner. This is from our 3D banner die set, and this is the smaller of the two, and I've already gone ahead and cut that out of white cardstock. And what I have here is a little piece of electronic die cutting sticky mat. This is the Eclipse cutting mat. I have a little scrap of it left over from cutting it down for other things, and instead of taking out the one that's the full size for my MISTI, I had this handy, so I figured why not use it. I'm putting it down in the corner and holding it down with a magnet, and then I'm going to take one of my little grid bumpers and I'm going to use it to help align my sentiment. And now when I put down the grid, let me move this magnet out of the way. When I put down the grid next to it, I noticed that these two lines, where it's the ending lines of the area for the sentiment, are on these two guidelines. So I'm just taking a wet erase marker and I'm going to mark those two lines, because when I put this grid over my die cut, I won't be able to see where those lines are anymore. So I'll use this to help me position my sentiment between those two lines. I'm also putting it down to help me, if you can see, let me zoom in on that. So here you go. These are the two lines telling me that right here is my stamping area between my two fingers. And then you can see I've centered the grid over the banner so that I will know when my sentiment is centered. And let me get my little sentiment out. And this is from that same set, and it says, "Have a Hoppy Day." And you can see it just fits in there. And so I'm going to use my fingers to place it where I want, in between those two lines, and then kind of centered top to bottom on the grid also. And I'm going to zoom out and pick my sentiment up with my MISTI cover, and then I can move my bumper, make sure that's in place, and then I'm going to ink up with, this is my favorite things, Orange Fizz. I picked that because it goes with the color orange that I used with my coloring. And there we go, have a hoppy day. And it's perfectly centered and everything on my banner, so I'm really happy with that. So now I just need to take this off my sticky mat, and because it's the sticky mat that I like, which is not too sticky, it comes off really easily, so I highly recommend that. I almost forgot to show you, in case you don't know how the 3D banner die set works, there are 2 score lines on each side. I don't know if you can see those. There we go. So there's one right there and one right there. Sorry, it's a little blurry. But what you do is you fold back on the first one that's closest to the sentiment. You do a mountain fold for that one, and there you go. Mountain fold, and then on the second one you do a valley fold. And then on the other side the same thing, you do a mountain fold on the one closer to the sentiment, and then a valley fold on the other one. And then you get this really cute 3D banner. And what you can do is it can stick down flat, or you can actually put foam tape underneath this to pop it up a little bit. Okay, so now I have this piece of paper that I cut from the Doodlebug Springtime paper pad, and it is 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches tall. And I've taken out my Scrapworks mini sunburst die set, and I'm using the heart, and I want the heart to be centered across, but a little more towards the top. So what I'm going to do is take my centering template, and what this is an A2 size piece of gridded vinyl that I've drawn the center lines for the horizontal and vertical, and I'm going to place that over my card. And of course, because I cut down my panel just slightly smaller than the full A2 size, I'm going to have to take into account and leave a little margin of the template all around that paper. And then I'm just going to hold this down, take my heart, and I am going to try and center that where I want it, and there we go. And that's about the height that I want it. So I can take away my centering template, get my blue painter's tape, and tape that down. Now I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have all the pieces ready for my card, and actually I am going to put foam tape under the 3D banner to keep it up. Let me see. Okay, so I've just trimmed a piece of foam tape about the size of the middle of the 3D banner, and I'm going to stick that back there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my bunny in place on the back of my heart. So what I'm going to do is going to apply adhesive all the way around the heart. And this is, of course, my ATG adhesive. And then I'm going to also put it all around the edges so that it will stick down to my card base. And what I want to do is I want to have my bunny sticking out just a little bit. Let me hold that a little more flat so you can see it. I want him sticking out just a little bit, but I want to be able to see that that's a heart that he's in. So I think there is good. So I'm just pressing his little feet down into the adhesive. And then what I'm going to do is get my card base. Oh, and actually, you know what I forgot to do is put some adhesive on him to make sure he'll stick down. Okay. Learn from my mistakes, people. Remember that. Okay, here we go. I'm centering this on my card base and sticking it down. And then I'm going to take my banner, and then what I'm going to do is put ATG adhesive on the 2 ends. because I want those to stick down flat. And then I'm going to take off the liner from the foam tape. And you can see I made it just a little bit longer than the back flaps, so that they will actually stick to that foam tape and hold its shape. And then I'm going to put this, whoops, right down here at the bottom of the heart. And there we go. Have a hoppy day. So there is my card for today. I hope you like it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, and I hope I'll see you over at yournextstamp.com for these products and many, many others. Thanks very much for watching.